So what I'm going to do now is a demonstration in how to wrap an injury like a soft tissue injury, sprained wrist, sprained hand. Of course, you can always go for the headband look with these things if you want to look very first aid-like, for instance. Right, some blood on it, as John just suggested, is a good idea. But instead, right now, I'm going to use Mario as a model here, and I'm going to show how to wrap an ankle. So I talked a little bit about this when I talked about wrapping an infection. You want to unwrap all along the way, so you're never pulling tight on a sore spot on the body. So this is just a normal ACE bandage. They're called, by the way, ACE is a brand name. These are elastic bandages. It's not a vet wrap. For this, it would just be too expensive. And also, these can be reused a number of times. Vet wraps are a one-shot deal. These kind of elastic bandages could be used a couple of times, not too many, because they lose their elasticity. This one already is. It's been used before. So if I was wrapping somebody's ankle, Mario here, the first thing I would do is I would find something, and I'm going to look for something right now, to rest it on. The reason I want to rest it on something is, this might not be a great angle, pick up your leg please, is to put it here, and this is probably not very comfortable. Let's get a pillow under there. So you might not have all of these accoutrements where you are, but it's just an idea of what you possibly can do. Pick your leg up please. All right, rest down. So good. So that way I don't have to pick it up. Otherwise I'm going to be holding his leg up the whole time, and it's just, it's a fair amount of weight to hold in one arm while working. And so when you're wrapping, so we're going to imagine here that I'm going to twist Mario's ankle in a way to just destroy just a few tendons for now. Ready, Mario? So notice the tight mouth. Not really, don't do that. So if I was testing Mario, one thing I can do is if his ankle, so I don't have to be wearing bandages for a soft tissue injury unless there's also an open wound. So he actually has a small cut over here, but it doesn't look infected at all. Also, I can wash my hands afterwards. So with soft tissue injuries, I would rather not work with gloves because you just get more finesse when you're not gloved up. It's just easier to feel. If I was testing for pain, I would be looking at his face like I talked about previously. Relax your leg, relax it. So he was moving his foot, which is common with people as I'm playing with it. You want them to relax it so that you can manipulate it. And what you do is you just gently move it around. You want to see the direction of the injury, but you don't always have to do that. I mean, sometimes it's big and obviously swollen. The person told that their ankle went in a hole and bent outward. But sometimes you also just want to check for damage and see how much by moving it around. One thing that's always helpful when looking at soft tissue injuries is just making sure that they have full mobility, that you haven't damaged anything. So can you wiggle your toes, please? So he has full mobility here. If it was swollen, they wouldn't wiggle quite as well, but if he couldn't feel his toes, that's a medical emergency. If he's like, I can't feel my toes, if he actually said, I can't feel my toes at all, what I would do first, I wouldn't show anything because I don't want to scare somebody. And I would ask him to close his eyes. So please close your eyes, Mario. So, and all right, I'm taking my knife out here. So I would say, Mario, open your eyes, please. So what I'm going to do, this is my knife. I'm just going to gently touch a part of your body and see if you feel it. It'd be very safe. You can also, you don't have to use a knife. You could use the non-sharp end of a bandage scissor. So I'm going to use this. And close your eyes. You have to make sure their eyes are closed. And what you're going to do is you can support them. So he says, I can't feel my toes, which for me means he could have nerve damage. So what you're going to do is, it won't work here because his foot is working fine, but you start touching and you start to say, can you feel that? Just say, can you feel that? Mm-hmm. So now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to touch his foot. By the way, I probably will have prepared him. I will say to him, there'll be times that I'm touching your foot and not touching your foot. And so you won't know which one, so just say when you can feel it. You don't want to set, otherwise I'm going to say, can you feel it? And he can't, and he's going to freak out. So I hope that made sense. So basically, I'm going to start this over. So you've heard it once, I'm going to repeat it. So I'll say, Mario, what I'm going to do is touch parts of your foot to see if you can feel them. There'll be times I do it and times I don't. Let me know when you can feel it, I'll ask. So close your eyes, please. So, can you feel that? Mm-hmm. Can you feel that? No. Can you feel that? Can you feel that? Yeah. So you might do that a few times. So basically, the two that he said no to, I didn't touch his foot. So In this case, his foot works well. So now we're going to wrap it. Wrapping is definitely an art. Maybe it's a science. Maybe it's a snart. Or maybe it's an arsonist. But what you want to do is get that fine, beautiful in-between of just tight enough, right? Here's the thing. Too loose and it doesn't do anything. Too tight and it cuts off circulation and it prevents healing. So what you want to do is find the fine in-between. Now, in this case, it's just his ankle that's hurt. So the ankle's right in here. The ankles really get hurt a lot because look at this. The rest of his body is above his ankle. So when he twists it, if he's running and he twists it, that's all that weight. So whatever 100 and something pounds, it goes against the ankle, and you just get a lot of weight. It's like falling on your arm in a sense. Like it's a lot of weight at once. So ankles are well made, but they're also easy to injure. So what you want to do is to find balance. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start towards the top. So I'm going to start right about in here, and I'm going to tuck this part under. And actually, you can ask people to help you. Can you hold this, please? Mm-hmm. Oh, this part. Thank you. So to start off, it's sometimes just easier. I got it. Thank you. You'll notice that I say thank you a lot. It's not just with Mario. It's just a habit, which is a good habit in this. So the first one has to be tight enough. Tuck this under. Keep it clean. By clean, I just mean that it's non-wrinkled. Wrinkles just hold dirt and they're less comfortable. So that part's in place. So I'm now going to come underneath. Notice it's just, I have his foot elevated so it makes it easier. So I can watch his face to see if it's too tight. Too loose, you might be able to see. Too tight, you can see better. And I don't know how to really show it, but what I'm doing here is I'm just, notice how I keep extending out this way. Not here, but out here. And I'm just going to kind of find that middle ground of tightness. Notice how there's pretty much no wrinkles in here. So now we come to the ankle. The ankle itself doesn't have to be very tight. It's above the ankle and below the ankle. Which brings us to the point of why am I wrapping it at all? The reason I'm wrapping it is to support it so that his ankle doesn't twist back and forth. So I have to put some pressure around his ankles, but the real goal here is to provide support for his ankle, and that's where this piece comes in right over here. This is where it starts to get twisty. So what I'm going to do is come around, I'm going to use his foot as a support. So I'm coming around once, just depends how much ace bandage you have. I'm doing pretty good here. So now I've come around his foot, and I'm going to come back up around his ankle. And this is the piece that's important. The foot and up here on this part of his leg and his foot, they're just supports. And I'm going to come around again, and I'm going to come over this way. And basically what I've just done is the most important part. If I want to make it stronger, I could come down again. Just depends on what I'm trying to do. And come up again, because right in here, right in over here, excuse me, I also don't want to impede his toes. There's just no reason for it. This is the action spot, right there. That's the part that basically it's going to hold it so when his foot can still move. I mean, move your foot around, it can move, but it's more restricted than if it wasn't there. Usually, though, you want to end, this one is running out a little soon, which will still work. Up here, if I can get it up higher, which I can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it around, and it's great to make mistakes, right? Happens all the time. So I'm just going to readjust it here, because I want the end to be upper on his leg, not on his foot, because it's going to stay better if it's up here. So straighten this up a little bit messier. We can straighten that up and just come up a little bit higher. There we go. And then you can use safety pins. I usually use tape. Can you just hold this, please, Mario? So they can hold stuff, right? There's not infection going on. You can use different kinds of tapes. Actually, I'm going to use this plastic tape as opposed to the cloth tape because it just sticks better in these situations. The cloth tape works too. It just comes off easier, actually, off of bandages. So I'm just going to come around and use this tape, and I'll probably do this 2 or 3 times. So once again, the tape is, thank you, the tape is going to be on smooth. I'm going to do another one with the tape. I'm going to give him the tape in the ace bandage. You could use safety pins. They just come out easy. I'd rather use tape. That should hold it in place. And want to stand up, please, Mario? And smooth it out. It may be a tiny bit tighter. It might be useful, but that's just about right. And that is how to bandage a foot. So let's quickly do a wrist, which is really pretty much the same thing. And I'm going to have you set your arm up here so your wrist is off over here. What I haven't, we've discussed how to use herbs in a different segment. Right now we're just bandaging, or wrapping really. Not too tight though. Okay, so next what we're going to do is, if Mario sprained his wrist, one of the classic ways is landing on your wrist. There's a couple of ways to sprain your wrist, but that landing on it like this just puts a lot of pressure and puts it at a weird angle. The goal is to stabilize his wrist. So just like I did with his ankle, we're going to start off, move it up a little bit, start off on the upper arm, not too far up, right about here, just to give it some support so the bandage will stick to itself, which it didn't, but we will do that again. This is common. I mean, it's good that John shows when things don't work out perfect every time, because they rarely do. Usually it's just kind of a mismatch here. What I'm doing on the here, by the way, is I'm tucking it so it's just nice and clean, neat. So I'm going to come around. The goal here is to stabilize his wrist so he can't move it. I just like the wrist jobs to look good here. Really, I like to have it. We have a nice, neat bandage. I'm going to show him how to do it at one point too. Well, actually, Mario's going to learn. So what I've done here, I've gone around 2 or 3 times around the wrist. He can move his wrist, but not as well. So next, I'm going to come around and use his hand as support. So I'm going to come in between his thumb. This is always going to be a little bit bunched up in here. You can curl it up or just do the best you can. And come in like this. You don't want to really prevent his hand movements too much. And then I'm going to come back around. You'll see I'm going to straighten this up in a minute. So I want to hold this. Once again, you can ask your patients to hold stuff. I'm just going to bunch this in like this. And now I'm going to use that hand support to stabilize. And I'm going to come around again. For the hand. It's a little bunched up in here. I think I want to unbunch it. I just like it looking neat. I think it's more than just liking it. I think it just helps with the stability. I'm going to come up again. So he can still use his fingers, but this is just, want to make a fist? So not too tight. A light fist. This is just going to kind of give me a sense of the pressure in here. And then I'm just going to come up, and then I can, at this point, this is a little sloppier than the ankles, but not too bad. Probably I would cut it off here so I didn't have too much, and then I would just tape it closed right here. And so basically, this is a pretty good, quick wrist bandaging technique, and it's done.